Hi guys, Vechs here. Alright, so it looks like there's so many questions from the Poke This Paul Part 1 video where I asked you to leave questions in the comments. It looks like there's too many questions to do properly, answer properly during an actual video. Um, so I think I'll just make it into a podcast like this. And that way I can just focus on the questions and not have to worry about uh, mapping or working on something, and your questions have my undivided attention. Anyway, let's just go ahead and jump right into it. I have the video comment section pulled up right here, and I'm just going to go from bottom to top, however YouTube's decided to order it. And let's see here. Is the mod Mountain Blade that I'm working on? No, it's not. What are my PC specs? I've posted this before, so I'm not going to go through the entire parts list. You can Google Vechs Paratus and find it. But it's a 6-core processor with a GTX 780 in it. It's the main things. Uh, Favorite games of all time and recent title? Ooh, I don't know. Favorite games? Fallout New Vegas, Super Metroid, Supreme Commander Forged Alliance, and yeah. I guess three's enough for that question for now. I could probably come up with a lot of other games I'm a big fan of, but like just favorite games. Those are some of the ones that come off to the top of my head. These are requests, not questions. So let's skip these, skip these, skip these, skip. Uh, Ever thought of going through your old maps and giving them an aesthetic touch-up, like the desert in Legendary? No, not really. The old maps are intended. They're intended for a certain version of Minecraft, and I see them as kind of um, locked in time. I guess it's kind of how I felt about the Star Wars movies when George Lucas went back in and added all these very obvious CGI special effects that clashed with the existing footage, the old footage, and it just didn't. There was something that felt off about it. So instead of just touching up an old map, I am much more likely to start and all new and make a fresh map with the same theme. So instead of touching up legendary, I would just make a legendary 2. And I've already done that. I've already done that a few times. Is it Next question? Is it Lucky Blocks? I'm gonna get a lot of questions trying to guess the mod. I'll go ahead and tell you, if I see somebody guess the right answer, I'm just going to say no anyway. So is it Lucky Blocks? No. But if it was Lucky Blocks, I'd still say no. So I'm just going to tease you guys about that. Question for you. While we haven't seen you play any other CTMs for the channel outside of Amlip's Uncharted Territory, have you played other maps to get a feel, ideas and gameplay? No, no, I do not. I intentionally do not because I don't want to be influenced by them. I don't want to accidentally or even subconsciously copy something I saw someone else do. This applies to redstone mechanics and mapping in general. I don't actively go out and look for stuff. Sometimes people will send me something and I'll click on it and it'll be a link to some sort of device and I'll see it without even wanting to, and I'm just like, oh well, I saw that and now I know how to do that, I guess. And sometimes I'll go look for redstone mechanic tutorials, but these are for the very basic. These are for the most basic of redstone things to get the groundwork. I typically don't just go look up how to make something. I'm the one making videos on how to make traps typically. Is the mod Lucky Blocks? No. So many. So what happened to Vex's test world videos? I make a test world video when I have something I want to test. If I don't have something I want to test, then I don't make any test world videos. It's pretty simple. Mine and Blade 2. I didn't even know that existed. No, it's not Mine and Blade. What's my favorite food? Tacos. Uh, I'll just go ahead and address this in one thing. People corrected me. I had negative space and positive space backwards. I like creating negative space. Filled blocks are positive space, and I like using an airbrush to carve out negative space. That's what I like doing. So I had the two backwards when I mentioned it. Uh, what got me into mapping? Oh, okay. Easy. That one's pretty simple. I got into Minecraft and I went to the custom maps forum to see if there was anything cool. And at that time, I remember there was, what was it called? It was like Broville, made by a guy named Old Shoes, I think. Was, I think, the most popular map at the time. And then everything else was like really crappily made survival island clones. And when I say that, I mean it's like somebody started a world, found some water, and then made like a 20 by 20 grass island out of grass blocks in creative mode and put a sign on it and said, their name's Survival Island. And you could still see naturally generated Minecraft terrain all around you. And they just left a sign that was like, oh, don't leave the island. And your goal was like, try to build a brick house or something. I was like, this is so lame. It's like there's no effort put into them. There were a few maps. There was Broville that looked pretty cool, and there was also but that was just kind of like a build map. I don't remember it. There was no gameplay to it. It was just, here's the thing I made, and you looked at it, and it was cool, and that's basically it. There was, and that's what I started doing too. My series of maps was the Super Hostile series. Just started to be survival maps. It was like you play Minecraft and do whatever you do in Minecraft, but here's this custom map and custom terrain to survive in. And that was just the goal, is just to survive. And it wasn't until Kaizo Caverns where I came up with the idea for the Victory Monument and getting the wolves from the environment. So that was really cool because it had this, goal system, and I think Zisto was the first one to even play that and test it for me. And I still think his Kaizo Caverns video series is just great because it was like back in the pioneering days when nothing like that had been done before. He even says several times like that's the coolest thing I've ever seen in Minecraft. I think when he gets to Cavern of Sky, he just stops and with his jaw hanging open, just looking at it, because he had never seen anything like that in Minecraft before. So I would say what got me into mapping was when I came to the Minecraft Maps forum, there wasn't anything. There were only a few decent maps out there of any kind. I'm trying to remember the name of the other one. Skylands, I think. And then there was another one that I think was maybe generated. Like somebody wrote a custom world generator and made like a natural continent. I don't remember. Oh, what was it called? I can't remember what it was called. Sorry, guy who made it. But that's like three decent maps, custom maps at that time that I could think of. And everything else was just like people just kind of, they went into Minecraft and made some little thing, but it was still right in the middle of a bunch of naturally generated Minecraft terrain. So it didn't really feel like a custom map at all. It wasn't a custom map. It was just somebody built something in a Minecraft world and then put up their map for download. And I wanted to, instead of sitting there complaining about it, I was like, well, instead of complaining about it and saying, oh, I could do better than that, why don't you just do better than that and not say anything? So that's what I did. I got a hold of MCEdit. I started to learn how to use it, and the first thing I did wasn't even make maps. It was just making dungeons. I really enjoyed making dungeons to drop into my own single player world. Like I'd make a custom dungeon for myself and then just stick it in. And I put those up for download. And it was originally like the first thread I made before my map thread was Vechs's schematic thread, and I made schematics. And a lot of those schematics were dungeons for people to just stick into their worlds and use however they wanted. And then I got into making maps proper. But yeah, that's what got me into it. Question: what do you do when caves feel empty, looks-wise or fun path-wise? I populate them with things. Next question. But seriously, if a cave looks empty, well, that's okay. It's not a bad thing to have some breathing room. Not everything has to be filled with stuff. I mean, it's okay to have some open space, an empty space for the player to just have a sense of breathing room. But if there's open or empty space in a cave system and you don't want it, it's very easy to just fill it in and not have any empty space there anymore. Either with the basic block, or you could just make some sort of shape there out of terrain, make something more interesting to look at. Next question. When building in caves like this, do you prefer building dungeons that stick out of the ground like a tower or that dip into the ground like an underground? I think my favorite thing is to make a cave system and then make buildings within the cave. So yeah, I'd have to say like a cave and then buildings inside of it, so a tower that sticks out the ground. Just wondering if there was any update to Canopy Carnage 2. Did I miss the update? No, you did not. I haven't worked on it yet. What happened to Canopy Carnage 2? I haven't worked on it yet. How can you get your map to get attention? Oh, well, thankfully, I have some good news, is that compared to when I first came onto the Minecraft map forum, custom maps in general have improved massively in quality and quantity. So there's a whole world of custom maps out there that are really great, and I'm really happy with that. I posted this in Reddit. I basically said that one of my goals was to just put better maps out there and raise the quality of custom maps on the Minecraft map forum, and I did that. And people copied me, people copied other people that were doing cool stuff, and so now you have entire genres that didn't exist before, and lots of great examples of high quality maps in those genres, which is excellent for somebody who wants to download a map to play that night or that week. But for you, trying to get attention to your map, now there's a lot more competition now. As a newcomer, your map is probably going to be lost in the sea of existing maps, and every year that goes by, there's thousands of more maps out on the market out there. So every day that goes by, it gets harder for a new person to distinguish their map. What can you do to make the world recognize your maps? Well, it's going to at this point, because of how much the quality's improved and how many good options are out there, any new map coming out, you're going to have to make something really amazing that gets people's attention. Or Or make something that's at least good and have, you know, YouTubers play it and draw attention to it, or have it hosted on a server or something, basically. But with no boost, external boost like that, marketing wise, by just posting a map on the forum, like you'll have to make something that really catches on with people. Um, yeah. Next question. How do you make your secret content, your hidden content? How do you make them able to find it, but still feel like you found an actual treasure instead of just making it feel like you people gave them stuff? Oh, that's an interesting question. It's something I've never really thought about, but I do it. Like in Inferno Mines, you'll notice that there's areas of stone brick, and then there's going to be cracked brick. And it's got this Legend of Zelda vibe where you see a crack in the wall and you blow it open and there's treasure behind it. Generally speaking, the secret stuff you can put in an out of the way location, and you can even leave it out in the open if it's out of sight range. Like let's say you put a treasure chest out in the open up on a ledge somewhere, but you only see it if you actually get up to that ledge. And by the time the player gets up there, even though it's just out in the open, they still feel a sense of accomplishment because they explored. They went off the obvious path and went to explore some random nook or cliff or cranny or crack in the ground or small hole in the wall that they caught their attention, and they found something cool, and they'll feel really good about it because you, as the map maker, acknowledged their curiosity and rewarded them for it. And generally, what you want to do is just reward people's curiosity, and they'll never feel ill will towards you for giving them stuff, as long as it was their curiosity that led them to explore someplace and there was something there for them to find. What are your opinions on consoles versus PCs from a gaming perspective? Uh, wow. I could probably talk for an hour about that. Well, let's see. Let's cover the basics. I believe that Steam single handedly saved a faltering PC market in the early 2000s. I believe that digital distribution is already the future, if I can get away with saying that. It's the new paradigm. Is digital distribution. You've got Steam, you've got Origin, you have good old games, and a plethora, 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 plethora. It's plethora of other services that are similar. And you don't get that with consoles because every time a console comes out, they like getting rid of backwards compatibility, even though they like to market the backwards compatibility, but they'll say backwards compatibility and then they'll put an asterisk next to it, and then it'll say like unsupported titles, and then the new console comes out and then it's not there. Or it has to be patched in, and it's only patched in for a handful of games, and to me it felt like they did this just as a marketing gimmick and really didn't intend to. Um, Consoles are a dying breed because they're too hard to use. Let me clarify that, because a lot of you are probably saying, Vechs, what the hell are you talking about? Consoles used to be you plug in your controller and you turn on your TV and you put the game in, you press the on switch, and then in a few seconds you're at a start menu. You press game start and you're playing and you're controlling your character, and it's awesome. My last experience with a console was the Xbox 360. And I plugged it in, turned the TV on, hooked it all up. There were a bunch more cables to hook up this time around. Um, put the game in, turned the thing on. It had to set itself up. I had to register an account. I had to download patches. And at this point, does this sound familiar to you? This is what you have to do on a PC. The reason people liked consoles is because of their simplicity. I hate to say this because it makes me feel old, but back in the day, when you had your option was like Nintendo and Super Nintendo, or Sega Genesis, or whatever else, uh, like you didn't have to like personal computers at that time were not user friendly, and they were more complex than PCs today. As far as well, okay, I have to hold on. They weren't more complex technically. Modern PCs are much more sophisticated in what goes into them and how many circuits they have and transistors but what I mean is they were much more complex for the user is what I meant. Okay, so a console had a clear-cut advantage. You hand it to an 8-year-old, or in my case, a 5-year-old. I was 5 years old when I got my Nintendo Entertainment System. I remember my dad brought it home. He bought it from a yard sale. It was in a brown paper bag. It was a Nintendo Entertainment System with Super Mario Brothers / Duck Hunt, two controllers, the Zapper, and an extra game which was Contra. Yes, I was raised on Super Mario Brothers and friggin' Contra of all games. Let's hand Contra on NES to a 5-year-old. Here you go. One hit, dead, 3 lives, gone. Just fuck. God, that was a hard game. Seriously, go get a copy of Contra and play it, and don't use any cheat codes, and see what happens to you. Jesus Christ. But yeah, I could figure out a Nintendo, and I was 5 years old. It was simple. And but a console today is just a really neutered PC. It's got the same crap you have to go through setting it up, and it's no easier to set up than the PC. A PC is nowadays. So now the only difference between a console and a PC today is your PC has this massive library of games that goes back years. Like my Steam library, I'll pull up my Steam library right now. Library, Steam, all games. 200. I have 222 entries in my Steam library. Okay, and when I get a new PC, that stays there. If I went to a console, well, for one, console games are more expensive anyway. A new console game is always like $50, $60, whereas new PC games, a lot of them are $5, $10, $20 new on Steam sales. PC gaming is so much cheaper. Consoles cost way too much. There's a smaller premium on the PC to start up. Like it's a decent gaming PC can be had for maybe $600 to $800. A console is going to be maybe $300, $400. So a PC is a few $100s extra at first. But for fuck's sake, guys, a console game is $60, for the disc at a store brand new. You buy 4 games, you've already spent $240 on games. Just $240 for 4 games at $60 a pop. And that's in the United States. Go to Australia and you're just screwed. Like, forget that. So console gaming is way more expensive than PC gaming. Wow, you really got me to rant there, didn't you? I spent more time on that than I intended. But my opinions on console versus PCs is get whatever you like. But yeah, get whatever you like. But if you want to save some money, get yourself a PC, and your gaming experience will be cheaper in the long run. Yeah. Next question. The mod is obviously My Little Pony because no, he didn't say My Little Pony. The mod is obviously Mine Little Pony because we all know Vechs has gone soft. He misspelled it. Mine Little Pony. Oh no, wait, no, that's probably the name of the mod because it's Minecraft. Ah, haha, Mine Little Pony. I get it. I get it. Okay, okay. Pardon me. I get it. Mine Little Pony. That sounds like something. Oh god. Oh, Mine Little Pony. Just never mind. Never mind. Will this map be available for public download in reference to Poke This Paul? Of course it will. Of course it will, man. Is that a question? Oh yeah, there's a question mark in that paragraph. I really enjoyed the gameplay of the unreleased Black Sands Black Desert 2 map where you had to kill mobs to get the wool. Did you just like that it made it so it was impossible to lose the wool, or could we see this again in the map? Maybe just for the brown wool. No, I like that mechanic. I thought it was fine. In fact, if you remember Stephen Miller, I used that mechanic in Inferno Mines. So, yeah. There's a Fleecy Mob boss room. So I did use that mechanic. I think it was twice, I think. So, yeah. Yeah, I like that mechanic. It'll show up from time to time. Maybe not in the next map. I'm not sure. It could. We'll see. Mapping question. How do you go from thinking and planning a dungeon to actually making that idea a reality while keeping it coherent and integrate it with the rest of the map's difficulty theme, etc.? More or less, how do you get from an idea to an actual area? Well, I guess you can watch this series and watch it happen in real time. The short answer is that I don't always do that, actually. Like, my original idea gets modified by what's actually possible within the game and with the tools available to me. It's all about compromises. Like, well, that doesn't look exactly like what I had in my head, but what I had in my head isn't made up of blocks typically, and Minecraft is just a bunch of blocks, and so that necessitates a certain amount of compromise in design because it's friggin' cubes everywhere. So, short answer is I don't always keep the original idea. It kind of gets changed when translated into Minecraft. Why not just make the flowing lava source blocks? Vechs, why not just make the flowing lava source blocks? I don't... What? I'm kind of confused. Vechs, comma, why not just make the flowing lava source blocks? Well, because if I make them... I did make them source blocks. I only ever used source blocks. It's just one block is settled, one source block is settled, the other source block is active. They're all source blocks, so your question is moo. Vechs, do you watch CinemaSins? I may have seen an episode of that on YouTube and not realized it was called CinemaSins. I watch honest trailers. I like that. Will there be another Monster Hunter map? Quite possibly, yes. I dare you to make a battle steak for Paul in this map. Classic battle sign. That's not a question. That's just a dare. Okay. Vechs, how do you make such random terrain? Do you have a filter or something? No, I make basic shapes and then I erode the crap out of them. Do you have a rough idea for a release date for the new Super Hostile map? Oh, everybody's gonna hate me. When it's done. Yep, I can feel your seething disapproval. Oh God, no, I'm sorry. Please have mercy. No, 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 no. What are some good ways to repopulate areas behind the player with new threats? I generally don't do that. But there was one time I did, and I used a wide area spawner set to a very limited vertical axis, and it was in the Vexian Gallery of Inferno Mines, that long stretch where you go in and it's all quiet, and then you get to the Fleecy box, and then a bunch of crap spawns behind you. Uh, Basically, the spawner was there at the Fleecy box, and the spawner has a short activation range. So you go to the Fleecy box, get in range, but it had a short activation range but a long spawning range. So it spawned a bunch of stuff behind you, and all the other possible spawning locations in a radius around the spawner was filled in by base block. So the only legal spawning area was the hallway behind the player. So it was a very simple system, but it worked beautifully, and it filled up the hallway with a bunch of crap behind them. So that's one way to do it. I usually don't do that kind of thing, though. It's kind of a gimmick, I guess. I don't want to. Gimmick has negative connotations, but it's kind of like a one-off trick I might do in a map for one area. It's like a theme of that area. Um, do you plan on remaking Endless Deep now that enchanting lets underwater gameplay be possible? Also, why did you take it down in the first place? I took it down because it sucked. I am honestly my own harshest critic. I personally don't even think like sometimes I like make stuff and I like, well, that looks pretty cool, but I don't think it's that great. And people are having so much fun playing it, and I'm really happy. But I'm like, well, I don't know. I don't. I've never really thought of myself as like a really great mapper. I just kind of derp around in MC Edit, and people seem to like the results, and so I keep doing it. And yeah, and like I said, I tried to raise the quality um, of custom maps on the Minecraft forum when I first started. But you have to understand, it wasn't that I thought I was like average, you know? I was just a normal guy poking around in MC Edit making stuff. But the maps that were first out there, they weren't even custom maps. It was just normal Minecraft terrain that somebody had like stuck some dirt around in creative mode without even using MC Edit. Um, so I was just, average, I guess, is how I'd classify myself. Um, and I thought like Endless Deep was really bad. Like it just wasn't. It wasn't pretty. It wasn't like I tried playing it and it was awkwardly laid out. And yeah, the only really cool thing about Endless Deep that broke was that you started the map on board a wooden airship, and I had this hoopty is the only way I can describe it. Hoopty ass little fuse thing on the back of the airship. It was a series of leaf blocks and wood blocks that I timed it. I had to time it. It started on fire. So you zone into the map, you load the map up, you're on the airship, the fuse starts on fire. The fuse being a series of it was like a checkerboard grid pattern of leaf blocks and wood blocks behind the airship out of your view. It was like behind the airship and then underneath it so you couldn't see it. And the fire burned through the leaves and the wood reliably well, and caught the airship on fire. And I timed it out. I had it timed out. I made a bunch of copies of it in MC Edit and kept spacing them out. And I timed how long it took each one to burn. I literally made a fuse out of Minecraft blocks. So that was really cool. I thought that was pretty inventive, working, pushing the boundary of what you could do in Minecraft, trying to make a fuse out of blocks in the world and time how fast they burn so that the airship would catch on fire and burn down around you and you'd be dropped into the ocean. And that was the opening to the map was kind of cool. Like that was the one cool thing about Endless Deep was the opening. Beyond that, it was just a bunch of tunnels underground with water on top and meh, meh, meh. Do I have plans on remaking Endless Deep now that underwater gameplay is possible? It might not be called Endless Deep, but yeah, I think it'd be really cool to try some content that uses the diving enchantments. Mm-hmm. But why did I take it down in the first place? I thought it sucked. So yeah, there you go. Um, and I thought a lot of my early stuff kind of sucked. Like when I go back and look at it, I'm just like, oh, it's so ugly. It's so eh, eh, meh. Anyway, I love your mapping videos. Well, that's not a question, but thank you very much, Mr. Monkey Saucer. I really appreciate your praise. How do you use space efficiently in large areas on your maps? The answer to that is I probably don't. I don't. Large areas are a trap, I have learned. Large areas are. I have a tendency to make areas too big. And I need to probably try to get away from that. I just can't, like, if you go look at the size of areas in Kaizo Caverns, they were pretty cozy, I guess, is the word I might use. They were smaller. And the one big area was the unusual thing. Cavern of Sky was like the exception. But now I make every area really big. And I probably need to get away from that. Although Inferno Mines, some of the areas look pretty good, I guess. I like the vistas where you could look out and see these sweeping rock formations and lava flowing around. Some of my recent stuff, compared to my old stuff, I think it looks alright. Like Inferno Mines look pretty good. Some of the areas, I think, in Spellbound Caves looked pretty good, except for there was a few areas that looked kind of meh. Like I think Grove of the Dark Willows was kind of lackluster. It needed more variation in the cave. I don't know. But yeah. Space efficiently. How to use the space efficiently? Well, if you've made a big area and you're dead set on having the area remain big, be sure to chop it up with lots of little encounters so that the player roams the area with some sort of purpose. And they'll never feel like they go into the area and they're like, oh, it's just a giant area. Where do I go? What do I do? You'll see with my Poke This Paul map as it plays out, it's very large, and but you saw me describe the S shape of the path I want the players to take, and there's going to be little encounters all along the way, so that it never feels like you're just trekking across this giant, big, empty area. So yeah, next question. What are the challenges making an open map as opposed to a cave map? All of them. Do you have any strategies? No. Open maps are just like, it's so much easier to carve out a cave network with air blocks than it is to just start with an empty void and start trying to fill in terrain. Because then, like, every single piece of terrain you make, you have to come back and sculpt and carve out and make it look natural. And I would almost say it's an order of magnitude more work to just make rolling open terrain. Like, trying to duplicate natural style Minecraft terrain by hand in MCEdit it's a pain in the ass. It's a pain in the ass. I think you might be able to pull off some decent results if you used a brush that was super wide. I'm talking like something over a 100 by 100 radius. Diameter. That was very low in height, and you push the brush away from your vision really far. This honestly probably deserves its own mapping video where I show this off on camera and don't just describe it to you. But yeah, basically is yeah, and I would just pan the brush around, drawing terrain, and then I'd come back and try to eroding it to smooth it out and make it look more natural. But the challenges to make an open map as opposed to a cave map is that just like you have to make everything, and it's just like every minor detail has to be handcrafted by you with, and it just it's not fun. because you get you have to spend tons of time on little details. Uh, it's kind of like, oh no, that's a dumb analogy, but yeah, you have to spend an inordinate amount of time on little details. Otherwise, it's going to look really crappy, like really really bad. Um, and then once you've done that, then you've got to, from a gameplay perspective, it's very problematic because if it's not a cave map, then the player can go in any direction they want, and you have to plan for that, and it's super hard to plan around that in Minecraft because you don't have the same kinds of scripting things that another game might have. Like imagine Legend of Zelda, you got to get all these like I'm going to call them gameplay keys, like the hook shot, for example, that suddenly opens up uh, all these paths that you couldn't take before. Like imagine a game like A Link to the Past. It's open world and you can go anywhere, but not exactly because there's a lot of areas that are blocked off before you get X item. And once you get that specific item, then you can open them up. And you can't really do that in vanilla Minecraft too well, um, while still having giant sprawling open terrain. Like you can block people off in a cave map, but even still, it's hard to just block off an area. Um, you could maybe make like a key system out of a fire resistance splasher and then a door made out of lava, but even then you can probably get through that with it. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You have to start going into like heavy command block usage there, and that's not really my thing. Is I don't the command blocks are good for simple things, but making complex variable storage with them is meh. Mm. As far as mitigating open world stuff, I don't really. Uh, no, not really. Open world stuff is a big challenge, and it still is. Okay. Um, Next question. Oh, tutorial about MC Edit. Yeah. Google search making a survival island from nothing is my MC Edit tutorial. Scrolls is released. Will you get back into it? Maybe. Scrolls wasn't very popular on my channel. It did not get nearly as many views as even other non-Minecraft series like Mountain Blade or Half-Life right now. Um, so it's just the interest doesn't seem to be there really, unfortunately. It's a great game, but I guess the viewers have spoken with their views. So I might get back into it. Um, I feel like I need to like try to film all the trials being built and uh, I've been talking so long I'm starting to not be able to talk. I feel like I need to be able to beat all the trials on film because I started a series about it and it's incomplete and that bugs the hell out of me and I'm stubborn and I want to have a complete series and I'm stubborn. So that would be the main reason. But that's basically it. How do you feel about recreating other worlds for in Minecraft from books, movies, games? Have you ever wanted to do it? Uh, not not really. I typically, when left to my own devices, I make my own stuff. I've been commissioned twice to make worlds. I made an alien themed world, the Aliens franchise. I made an alien themed map for someone, and I also made a map based on a book series. So two maps actually, two maps based on book series. But those were commission projects, so it's not just me just making them because I feel like it. But yeah. Which map do you consider to be your best? Hmm. Hmm. Uh, Best at what? I guess Inferno Mines. But Inferno Mines has its own, like each map has their own pros and cons, I guess, about what's cool about them and what problems they have. Um, I think, hmm, I really liked the start in Waking Up. I like it because it's really hard and sometimes just unfair. Um, I like I like the terrain and the vistas and just the views that the player gets in Inferno Mines. Uh, the layout of Inferno Mines with areas layered on top of each other was very. I struggled with that for a long time when I was first starting. Trying to visualize it and plan the player's route, it felt like I was trying to visualize a bowl of spaghetti with all the tunnels and paths. Um, it just would give me a headache thinking about it. But despite that, it was interesting for me to make that. Because before it was basically 2D, two-dimensional design. If you ever got like a map, like a top-down map of the worlds I made, like it's a very 2D layout. Um, but with the increased world height, I could actually make good-sized areas layered on top of each other. Um, and so Inferno Mine shows that off pretty well. I'd say that's to me is an accomplishment for me because it was a challenge for me to work with, and I did it, and I made a map, and I just feel good about that because it was hard for me, but I overcame it. Uh, Next question. I didn't answer your question. What's the best map? Um, I honestly don't know. I can't answer that. Sorry. How long did it take when you first started to learn the controls before it was second nature? Oh, for MC Edit? Maybe a week, 2 weeks or so. Map maker panel at a convention? Nah, not really. Conventions aren't really my thing. Sorry. I've ever seen Seth videos. Seth videos. Wow, Seth Blink. I'm getting tired. I should probably wrap this up soon. Oh no, and I'm not even like halfway through the questions. So many questions. Oh. Have you seen Seth Bling's video on arrows? No, I have not. How do you use the erode tool to make terrain look a bit less like the shapes you use to form it? Oh, seed it. You seed it with divots. Okay, so what you do with the erode tool is see this warrants its own mapping with Vechs video on the erode tool specifically. But the short answer is make some divots in the terrain with diamond. Diamond works amazingly well. Make some divots, little small divots in your terrain using airbrush diamonds. And then use the erode tool on it. And those little divots will form the seeds to give the erode tool something to latch onto and work with. It sounds weird, but when you see it in action, it'll make sense. Next question. Did or do you play the Simulation Protocol maps by Takaro? I've never heard of them and I don't play them. Sorry. How did you get the clay blocks to show up in MC Edit? In my version, all the blocks are pink fuchsia blocks. I think you kind of answered your own question there, buddy. In my version, obviously your version is old and you need a new version. Go to the Reddit, MC Edit 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 Reddit, and go download the new one. If you had to make a map using blocks of only one color, what color would it be? I want to make fun of myself here, and I'm going to make fun of myself. Is that okay? Tan. Inferno Mines is all sandstone. Okay. Oh, Vechs is the best way to contact me. Reddit direct PM. What do you think is the best way to make areas like Trees of Fun, Upper Mines, and Amanita Cavern? Um, what do those areas have in common? They're large caves carved out with a ovoid airbrush. Uh, then wait, what else do they have in common? Uh, Amanita Cavern has mixed terrain. Upper Mines is all solid sandstone, if I remember correctly. Trees of Fun is solid stone with a lava lake in them. I'm not sure what the question is asking because I can't see anything like any similarity on those three areas beyond just their areas carved out with ovoid airbrushes. So yeah, ovoid airbrushes, I guess, is the answer you're looking for. Um, what do you think of people speedrunning your maps? Yay, rock on! That's awesome. I find it amusing when somebody beats a map in like 10 minutes, and I'm just like, I sit there like, are you like, you what, mate? Just like, did you seriously just? It's ridiculous how well thought out their paths are. So, how did you become so good at MC Edit? I don't think I'm that great at it, but all right, thank you. I appreciate your compliment. Um, I'd rate myself at maybe like a 7 out of 10. So, uh, did it take a while to get used to it, or did you immediately get the hang of it? Uh, I've tried to use it before, but I found it too difficult to use. I've used it for a very long time, and like with everything, to get decent at it, you need to practice at it. Um, there's an old saying, it's like 1,000. You need 1,000 hours to do something properly, and you need like 10,000 hours to master it. So, yeah, yeah. More people telling me about the positive and negative space. Man in the Hat Gaming. Hi. Yes, I see. Uh, any sort of lore story to any of your CTM maps? Yeah, um, there is lore. Like I have my own headcanon about like the story behind the map, but I don't force it on the player because I kind of like that the player can just kind of use their imagination and it's whatever they want it to be. So I try to keep it light and out of the way. But every now and then there'll be like uh, little areas where there's an individual story because I think that'll fit in with whatever the player's imagined. If they come up on an area where they find somebody's journal or whatever, then it doesn't interfere with what the players come up with. It's just somebody that would happen to be there. So I mostly only use still lava and water. Is that strange? Kind of, because it means the player's probably gonna find your still blocks eventually, and they could look weird, but obviously it's not gonna cause problems. It's just an aesthetic thing. Question. Is there a question in that paragraph? Yeah, there's a question mark. How do you keep yourself from making small little areas? Zoom out in MC Edit and make your brushes big, and you'll quickly make areas that are too big, and then you have that opposite problem, I guess. Uh, what's one thing you know now that you didn't know when you first started that if you could go back, you'd tell young Mapper Vechs? Oh, like one tip that I didn't know originally that I learned, and then I could go back and tell myself. Uh, huh. Um, well, some of the things that have made my life the easiest, uh, didn't like they weren't something that took me a while to figure out. I just kind of like when the asymmetrical brushes came out for MC Edit, that was such a blessing, and I immediately realized how good that was and how much easier it made things on me. Um, So something I didn't know originally that I had to figure out on my own, and then it would be handy to know a long time ago. Um. Oh, I know how to manipulate NBT data format. Like when I first started mapping, that was a big mystery to me, and I had no idea. And later on, I learned how to use NBT Explorer or NBT editors and open up spawner files, spawner schematics directly and modify them and poke at them. Uh, it would have been a lot easier on me to just know how to do that at first without having to learn it. So yeah. How to directly edit NBT data is what I'd probably say. That would have made my life easier. Okay, next question. How did YouTube affect your attitude towards mapping? It didn't really, except for the cool thing is that I can make videos while mapping and show people how to do stuff. That's kind of cool. Have you ever begun a map, made decent progress on it, but scrapped it, all without ever letting anyone know since they won't ever play the map anyway? Yeah, that's happened a few times. I think I still have the saved files too, but the public will never know. Lucky Blocks. No, it's not Lucky Blocks. Damn it. Next question. Have you considered making events in your collab maps? For example, on this one, you could have some command block tests. I've already had events. Yeah. The Vexian, the area is Estonian Battlecry, and the Vexian Gallery and Inferno Mines. There's another trap in Inferno Mines. I've already had like events that do stuff. Blow up the dam, spraying lava down, making retreat impossible. I did that. I cut off your retreat in another map. It's around a certain castle. I'm not going to say the name of it, but you cross a bridge and the bridge blows up behind you. So I've already been doing events, man. Whose maps have you been playing? You should go play some of mine. You might like them. When will you show your face on YouTube? I don't know. I don't. Probably not. I don't think so. Is my face really relevant? I'm getting tired. Why am I filming this at 1 a.m.? I shouldn't be filming this at 1 a.m. Oh, damn. I'm almost been going an hour. I should wrap this up even though there's questions that I haven't answered yet. Well, damn. I'm sorry, but I don't want to go over an hour. When will you show your face on YouTube? I probably won't. But I'll say probably won't, and I won't say never. Do you test run your maps before releasing them, or do you get someone to do it for you? I test areas as I make them, is generally what I do. What inspired you to start making maps for Minecraft? I started with dungeons first, and then I saw the sorry state of maps in the Minecraft forums, and I wanted to make them better. What do you use as inspiration for the maps you do? Pretty much just whatever comes to mind. How much on-paper planning? I do like next to zero on-paper planning. I just have a kind of a theme. I usually start with a theme and work from there. Well, that's it, guys. I'm out of time. I don't want to push this over an hour for YouTube, so I'll see y'all next time, and I might come back to this thread and try to answer more questions and post another podcast. But anyway, I'll see you in the next one. Until then, as always, take it easy.